There's a certain stillness that settles in a home built by two people who have only ever had each other to lean on. For years, it had just been me and my son through every storm, every late-night conversation, every uncertain tomorrow. Now he is grown, a man with weary eyes that seem to carry more than his years should. That evening, he returned home late, his shoulders heavy, silence trailing behind him. I could tell the world had worn him down again. I didn't ask questions. I simply told him to rest. As he lay down, I pulled a blanket around him, a small gesture but one infused with years of routine, care, and love. Watching him breathe, I felt both pride and sorrow. Pride for the man he had become. Sorrow in realizing how much of himself he had given away just to survive. The house remained filled only with the soft whisper of the wind brushing against the windows. In that quiet, I felt our connection, the kind forged not through words, but through shared struggle, a bond born from years of being each other's only constant. Then the doorbell broke the silence. At the door stood our neighbor, his familiar smile warming the cold night. He had come to check on the heating, worried we might be struggling with the chill. His kindness felt genuine, effortless, the kind that asks for nothing in return. As he stepped inside, my son appeared in the hallway, his expression unreadable. There was something in his eyes, confusion, protectiveness, maybe even unease. It struck me then. For so long, it had been just the two of us. Every new presence felt like an intrusion into the fragile world we had built together. When our neighbor finally left, the silence returned, but heavier this time. I found my son sitting alone, lost in thought. I sat beside him, placing a hand on his shoulder the way I used to when he was small, unsure of the world around him. "You've been quiet," I said softly. He hesitated, then finally spoke. "It's not him, Mom. It's just weird. We've been together for so long. Sometimes I don't know how to fit someone else into that." His words hung in the air, fragile yet heavy. I realized he wasn't resisting change out of anger. He was afraid of losing the one constant in his life, the piece of stability he had always counted on. That night, I lay awake thinking about how strange it all felt, how love, so often a shield, can also become a cage. For years, we had clung to each other so tightly that the world outside our small bubble seemed to fade away. Yet growth demanded we let go, even if only a little. The next morning, the house felt different, almost holding its breath. He stayed in his room longer than usual. I prepared breakfast anyway and called him when it was ready. When he finally joined me, the silence between us had shifted. It was no longer tense, but full of quiet understanding. "I know I've been distant," he admitted, eyes downcast. "It's just, change scares me. We've always been a team. I don't want that to fade." I reached across the table, my voice soft, steady. "Nothing can erase what we have, but we both deserve more than just survival. Change doesn't mean losing each other. It means making space for more in our lives." He nodded slowly, a subtle light returning to his gaze. For the first time in days, I saw a hint of peace settle over him. Later that week, our neighbor stopped by again, this time with tools and a quiet laugh. He fixed what needed fixing, stayed for tea, and filled the room with gentle conversation. My son joined in cautiously at first, then with increasing ease. The atmosphere shifted, warmer, lighter. Our home, once quiet and heavy, now felt alive again. That night, I stood by the window, watching the outside lights blur against the darkness. Life had changed, not dramatically, but subtly, undeniably. And within that change, there was beauty. Growth was not always graceful. It could be uncomfortable, even painful. But it meant movement, progress, and becoming something more. I knew our path wouldn't always be smooth. There would be days when memories tugged us backward, and moments when fear crept in again. Yet we were still here, still together, still moving forward. There would be moments when memories pulled us backward, when fear made it hard to trust others, and when the future felt uncertain. But I also knew this: we had survived far worse together. And now, perhaps for the first time, we were learning to open our hearts, not merely to endure, but to embrace the possibility of something new,